welcome to Celebration Bar Review's webcasts. We are counting down to your bar exam, and we're at roughly about the 92-day point right now before the test. And as you're watching, you see that I'm wearing bright orange today. There's a reason for that. It's not because of my affinity for the University of Florida, but actually it has to do with another football team that wore orange once in its history, known as the Denver Broncos. Now, for those of you that are either not sports literate, not football fans, or just frankly too young to remember, the Denver Broncos were an incredibly awful football team for most of their history, and I had the unfortunate experience of growing up during most of that. But later in their history, along came a quarterback by the name of John Elway. And you've probably heard his name. If you're a football fan, you certainly know who he is. Now inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and clearly one of the most proficient quarterbacks to ever play the game. He was my hero. He still is. In my office, adorned on my walls, are all sorts of paintings and photographs and signed memorabilia of Elway. Now, I have to admit that these days I root for the New Orleans Saints. I suppose it's the kick me when you're down syndrome. But in any event, John Elway remains probably one of my most favorite sports heroes, if you can have a hero at my age. And the reason he was a hero to me was not necessarily because of his abilities or his strengths, although he was phenomenal. But what really appealed to me was that this was a guy that went to the Super Bowl 3 times in a row and got the snot kicked out of him. I mean, the Broncos just were awful. It was a miracle whenever they got to the Super Bowl, and it was no big surprise when they got destroyed in those first 3 Super Bowls. And so Elway got tagged with the label of being a loser, and that's always difficult, if not impossible, for most people. But Elway had an amazing capacity to rebound from that and to not view himself as a loser. In other words, he didn't think to himself, well, I'm never going to be anything because I keep losing this big game. In fact, he kept playing and kept coming back and finished his career with 2 straight Super Bowl wins. He didn't let the imaginary bag of rocks that had been tied on him by all the sportscasters and writers and fans and others, he didn't let those things stick to him. And you might say, well, so what? What does that have to do with taking the bar exam? Well, it seems to me that one of the things that happens, particularly as I start talking to students as results are coming in across the country, is that there are an awful lot of folks who take that same bag of rocks and they tie it to themselves. I had a conversation with a man the other day who was thinking about taking the bar exam, was a very accomplished, apparently, tax attorney, had gone to a high-level law school, but many, many years ago had failed the New York bar exam. And it was still bugging him. It was still gnawing on him after all these years. And he said, you know, I don't want to think of myself as a loser. You know, I think that a lot of us, you know, are successful, obviously. That's how we got into law school. Most people in law school never failed an exam in their life, certainly not a high-stakes test. And then you get into the bar exam and things can happen. You can fail those exams. You can prepare inappropriately. You can not work hard enough, although that's rarely the problem. But you can simply get ready for the test in a way that isn't very productive. And if you fail the exam, the real danger is that you then tag yourself as a loser. What I told my students this week is that to be successful, I think you need the heart of a champion. You see, John Elway is a champion on a lot of levels, not just because he had physical ability, but because he had the heart of a champion. He refused to give up. He refused to be defined by what had happened in the past. He made his present and his future. And I think that there's nothing that I can say that would be as useful or as important as that as you prepare for an exam in 92 days. You have to have an expectation of success as you go through this process. If you expect to lose, if you expect to fail the exam 92 days away, I can tell you that very little that you do in the way of studying now will change that. I'm really distressed sometimes when I talk to students who tell me, oh, I can't pass this exam, I just know I can't pass it. Well, what in the world are you doing? You know, you got to change something if that's really your belief. And the first thing that has to change is the belief that you can't pass. You see, I think too often we let others define us. We let externals define us. We let results from a test define us. We let what a professor says about us define us. Instead of recognizing that you are extraordinarily talented and blessed and gifted with lots of ability, or you wouldn't be in the position to take this test in the first place. And I think that as you consider that, as you think about where to go over the next 92 days of study, think about having that heart of a champion, that you're going to overcome and succeed no matter what the obstacles that are placed in your way. Elway had a lot of obstacles. He had a really lousy football team for most of his career surrounding him, but he got a couple of key players, a coach that wasn't a total dummy, and they actually had a chance to win, and he took advantage of that. I think that that's what you've got to expect, that you're going to give yourself a chance to win, a chance to be successful. You'll take advantage of that opportunity, and you won't get knocked down by what happened in the past. If you've never taken a bar exam before, don't think about failing the exam. Think about succeeding. Think about how great that's going to be and what you're going to do after you've passed the test. Keep the heart of a champion as your operating experience. Keep it as what you're thinking about. Keep it as the way that you function. You'll find the next 90-some days go a lot more smoothly, a lot more effectively, and the ultimate result, passing the bar exam, becomes then an expectation rather than something to be dreaded or surprised by. Elway really had this enormous capacity to excite fans and draw people to him. He did that in large part because he just never gave up. And so I would tell you, as we hit into this 90-day mark, never give up. Just keep working. You'll get there. Look forward to hearing from you either by email or phone. I love the comments that I get back from folks around the world as they watch these webcasts, so we appreciate that. Have a great study week, and if you're a fan of the Broncos or the Saints, well, I guess we just hold our breath and hope for better days to come. Take care, and we'll be back again next week.